The fourth set of college football playoff rankings are out. Back here with Richard Johnson, Bryant McFadden, and Damian Harris. Okay, so the big change here is we have Oregon and Ole Miss flip-flopping. Ole Miss was idle last week. Lane Kiffin far from being idle. As we know, all of the drama there in Oxford. Oregon got a big win over USC, so Oregon up to 6. They would both host first-round games in those scenarios. Richard, do you think that the committee is considering what's going on with Lane Kiffin right now and how to handle them moving forward?
I think it depends on if Ole Miss loses in the Egg Bowl. I think if Ole Miss handles business this week, they're fine. But if Ole Miss puts it in the hands of the committee, I think Ole Miss is petrified about what the committee may do if Ole Miss drops onto that 2-loss line. There's so many teams right here that you're looking at that have 2 losses. I mean, right now, you're looking at a Vanderbilt team that has 2 losses. You're looking at Utah with 2 losses. You're looking at all these teams on the bubble that are 2-loss teams. What happens if Ole Miss joins them and Ole Miss becomes comparable, right? Right now, you're not comparing Ole Miss's resume against any of those teams because they only have 1 loss. If they have 2 losses and they drop down, I think then we're having a serious conversation about how to treat them. We saw what they did with Jordan Travis and Florida State a few years ago. Will they give Ole Miss that treatment? I tend to think that they will not, but I don't think Ole Miss wants to leave it in the hands of the committee.
Where do you lie on this, Damian? Where do you stand on this situation with Lane Kiffin and what's going on?
I think they're absolutely taking into consideration what's going on with Lane Kiffin right now. I mean, the word on the street is if Lane Kiffin jumps ships and goes somewhere else, whether they win the Egg Bowl or not, they might not put Ole Miss in. So you factor in the fact they could lose the Egg Bowl. It's almost like the committee is getting ahead of themselves in a sense. But let's also talk about this Oregon team. I mean, we heard them say the committee is talking about eye test, and that win over USC, it was an impressive win. I mean, USC was rolling. They had gotten themselves in the playoff picture. I mean, they were on the outside looking in, but the way Jaden Maiava was playing, Makai Lemon, we were thinking about this USC team with a little bit of help. They would be able to have a chance to get in if they won this Oregon game. But Oregon won it sure-handedly. They jumped spots with Ole Miss. But to answer your question, Akeem, I definitely think what happens with Lane Kiffin is playing in the back of the mind of the committee.
B-Mac, and look, I know we live in a world that's unfair, but wouldn't that be unfair to hold out Ole Miss from the playoff, that program, if they're only a 1-loss program?
In the words of my high school football coach, it's hard, but it's fair, right? It's hard, but it would be fair. You know why it would be fair? Because they did it to Florida State. They did it to Florida State.
We have precedents.
Right? They did it to Florida State. When Jordan Travis got injured, Florida State still won their ball games. And I understand most people felt like they did not win with style, but they won their ball games. And I think they even covered their spread, but because they didn't have their star quarterback, they held Florida State out of the playoffs. So if this was to happen with Ole Miss, and if they did the same thing, well, for Florida State, you want to see the same fairness that they applied to you that was not fair, applied to Mississippi. But this is the flawed process with this committee in terms of the playoff implications, man. It shouldn't matter. If Lane Kiffin beats Mississippi State and he says, I'm leaving, so what? They still deserve a right to play in the playoffs because they won the necessary games that warrants them getting into the playoffs. That's the one thing I do not like about this process with the committee. I oftentimes utilize the NFL model in how they handle playoff implications.
You can't keep right. And look, you cannot. But here's the thing, though, right? And I just want to add this before you give the context. If you can't, if we're because we're dealing in hypotheticals. If Ole Miss beats Mississippi State, that's a 1-loss Ole Miss team. You can't penalize Ole Miss if their coach leaves and then put in Oklahoma, who they beat. That would be where I'd have the biggest issue. Ole Miss beat Oklahoma, so you can't keep them out of the playoff if you're going to tell me Oklahoma's in.
I agree with you guys.
Okay.
I don't think they're leaving out a 1-loss Ole Miss team. I think a 12-team playoff world is much different than a 4-team playoff world. I do not think a 1-loss Ole Miss team gets left out. I don't think, frankly, a 2-loss Ole Miss team should be left out, but I think this conversation is really about whether Ole Miss has 2 losses, not if they have 1. If they have 1 loss, I think they're in. Now, maybe they won't get a home game when all is said and done, but I do think they are safely in with 1 loss, whether Lane Kiffin is their head coach or not.
I hate to bring up what happened in the past, but how can you guys both say you cannot leave Ole Miss out if Lane Kiffin leaves the school and they have to have an interim head coach the playoffs when they left Florida State out because the quarterback got injured? That's all I'm asking.
They have two
That's
ranked
all I'm
wins.
asking, David.
B-Mac is stuck on this. If y'all can't tell, they struck a nerve with him a long time ago. And although I'm not a Florida State guy, I'm not a Seminole, I agree with B-Mac. It's hard, but it's fair. If you don't have your head coach, if you have to play under an interim, you cannot guarantee that this is going to be the same Ole Miss team that has showed up the rest of the season. It was Lane Kiffin's decision to throw Trinidad Chambliss into the lineup, make him the starting quarterback. And that's when they started to pick up steam. Those are the type of invaluable pieces that a head coach like Lane Kiffin brings to the table. So I hate to disagree with
Simmons
both
was
you
also
gentlemen,
injured,
but
though, so that's who he would turn to.
Yeah, but
that would make just
he
most
wasn't the better
sense.
quarterback, Hakeem. He wasn't the better quarterback.
Right, but the kid was injured. The kid was injured at the time. So Austin Simmons was injured. So you had to turn to a backup no matter what. And then he got healthy.
And when he got
you
healthy,
stick with the hot
what happened?
hand. Yeah, but
What
I've never coached college football in my life. I'd stick with the hot hand too. It's just like if I'm going to keep rolling with whatever my pick is, like I'm going to stick with the guy who's got me there, right? My thing here, and BMAC, I get what you're saying, but we're now on a 12-team playoff. If we were in the same situation where Jordan Travis was playing this year for Florida State undefeated, I think they still get in the scenario that you have set up. I think they still get in even with a backup quarterback because their record was so good. But when we were still in the 4-team playoff, that's what ultimately kept them out when you had an Alabama team right on their heels.
Yes, I think the difference between the 4-team world and the 12-team world is significant for this discussion.
Okay, let's take a look at the bracket right now because I want to clear up some things in terms of what the expectations are. Right, Miami is up 1 spot to 12. They're 11th here in the field because the group of 5 team would be the 12 seed in Tulane. Got to win their conference. So Tulane's got to win the American, and Miami would be getting in as an at-large because for them to play in the ACC title game is slim to none. It's likely going to be Virginia against SMU, but still that's to be determined. So right now, the committee projecting Miami, but that would have to mean they would be an at-large team even to get into the field. Right now, they're projecting as the ACC champ, but again, they're going to need some teams to fall in front of them. So, Richard, what's the scenario then for Miami to actually get into this field? Who do they need to lose this week?
They need to be rooting hard for Auburn because they need Alabama out of there. They need to root for BYU to lose in one of the next 2 games. Absolutely. Got to get them out of there. You'd like for a Notre Dame or an Oklahoma to lose as well to really plow the road in front of you for Miami to slip in because remember, Miami's got to get up to 10. Miami has to get up to the 10th ranking in order to be an at-large team in the college football playoff, the way this stands.
Okay, so BMAC, you see the path for Miami. Do you agree? Is that a real path? Is that feasible for the Hurricanes?
Well, first and foremost, they got to win.
Yep.
Right. We can't have any more November slip-ups for Mario Cristobal. That's the first thing. They got to win. But, yes, I agree with Rich. They need chaos to happen. They need Alabama to take one on the chin. They need quite a few teams. They just need chaos to happen for them because if Virginia take care of their business, if SMU take care of their business, Miami could win and still not get to Charlotte. So they would need to go, to your point, Hakeem, as an at-large team. So that means the ACC would have 2 teams in the playoffs, the winner of the ACC championship game, and if that chaos happens that I'm referring to in front of Miami, that will provide the window of opportunity for Miami to get into the playoffs.
Damian, what's the most likely upset do you think happens this week when we enter rivalry week beginning on Friday?
Hakeem, you set me up, and you damn well know you did. Because I'm going to say the Iron Bowl. And listen, gentlemen.
I'm listening.
The Iron Bowl goes crazy. You talk about chaos. B-Mac is sitting here talking about chaos, right? There is no more chaos than in Iron Bowls, no matter how good one team is compared to how good another team is. I've played in Jordan-Hare Stadium. There's some type of weird juju that starts to happen once you walk into that stadium. You don't feel right. Your stomach starts turning even when you know you're the better team. And not to mention what we saw from Deuce last week. I mean, I don't know how many reps he's going to get. But I will tell you this, if he gets a lot of reps, he gets a lot of PT, which it looks like he deserves a hell of a lot after the way he played last week, it will be a problem for the University of Alabama, because I know they've played Vanderbilt. I know they played Diego Pavia. I don't think he moves the way that Deuce moved last week. He might be a tougher quarterback. He might do certain things better. He might be a better leader. But we know the Achilles heel for Alabama has always been the mobile quarterbacks. We saw it in week 1 with Tommy Castellanos. We might see that again this weekend. So I would say the Iron Bowl, that's the biggest chance for an upset and the biggest chance for Miami to find their way into the college football playoffs.
BMAC, you agree?
No question, I agree.
Okay.
I mean, it's always been some type of unexpected chaos in the Iron Bowl. And to Damien's point, Deuce better start. What he did last week,
and that's the problem with Alabama guy. He better.
Yeah, he better. And reps, we're not sharing reps. No, he better start, because what he did last week, granted, it was against a lesser talented team. You want to see that, because that has been the issue going back to Nick Saban days. Mobile athletic quarterbacks have always giving Alabama issues. And Thomas Castellanos did that week 1. He is that fluid runner that Tommy was against Alabama. He's very, very smooth. He reminds me a little bit of a Jaden Daniels type-ish, a slender build, but very, very slippery and smooth as a runner. And the momentum he created last week, I think you need to have him in the lineup for start to finish, because he's the future for Auburn. Whoever the new head coach is, you want to showcase that, hey, man, you got a quarterback that's ready to go right now. And what better way to have a final say-so with that than playing against Alabama, potentially upsetting the Crimson Tide?
All right, I want to present a real, literal doomsday scenario, okay? And you can tell me, you're crazy, Hakeem. All right, this is what I'm going to set up, okay? Alabama loses to Auburn. Lane Kiffin waits for that game to be over to see what Kalen DeBoer does. Kalen DeBoer goes back to his office and says, you know what, I think I'm going to take the Penn State job. Lane Kiffin goes to Tuscaloosa and takes the Alabama job. That would be doomsday scenario, Richard. I mean, that would be absolute bonkers. Is that too crazy to think that would not happen?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let the man.
Go ahead, Damien.
I will yield my time to the man.
Go ahead, Damien.
Hold on. You're not crazy, Hakeem. You're not crazy. And me and B-Mac, we had this conversation this past weekend. And I put it to him this way. If Alabama fans, and obviously the outcome of the Iron Bowl will dictate a lot of what I'm about to say. But hypothetically, if Alabama loses the Iron Bowl to Auburn, and then you took a poll amongst every Alabama fan out there and say, would you rather have Lane Kiffin come in here, or would you rather keep Kalen DeBoer? I'm going to keep it zipped after that.
I think there's an answer. I think the answer.
But Damien, you're a former Alabama Crimson Tide player. You have more ties to the university than anyone else on this call right now. Who would you rather have?
Whoa. I don't like what you did right there. But I'm going to go with familiarity. I played for Lane. I understand the mindset that Lane has. And I also know that Lane is a part of that Nick Saban coaching tree. And seeing the success that he's had at Ole Miss, if you give him the keys and the reins at Alabama, I think that people would expect the potential to be a little bit higher. And I'll put it to you this way. When Kalen DeBoer was hired, there was a lot of grumbling. I'm not going to repeat everything that was said, but y'all know it. And there's still grumbling to this day. If something were to happen, this scenario we're talking about, Alabama loses to Auburn, Kalen DeBoer takes the Penn State job. If Lane Kiffin says he wants to go to Alabama, I don't think those same rumblings are going to happen, just because, like I said, the potential, the ceiling of an Alabama program, it just might be higher with Lane Kiffin than Kalen DeBoer.
I just heard a social media clip right there. Tommy, get on that.
I know.
Tommy, get on that. Look, we're not here for clicks. We're here for content. But that was really, really good. Damien, I mean, my goodness, BMAC, great job. Richard Johnson, as we continue here on CBS Sports HQ. That's the kind of conversation, just spicy, okay? That's what we want. We want spicy because, look, we're heading into Thanksgiving. Like, let's get going here as you take a look at the top 12. The top 5 remain the same. Oregon jumps Ole Miss to 6, Ole Miss to 7, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama stay 8, 9, and 10. Miami up a spot to 12. BYU, kind of a placeholder, is the first team out. BYU really needs to play in the Big 12 championship and beat Texas Tech to get into the field. As we continue here on CBS Sports HQ, keep it locked. Coming up, every game matters. Rivalry games and playoff implications on the line in the final week of the regular season. We'll break down the games that will impact the CFP. We've got picks and analysis next on CBS Sports HQ. Every game matters. Rivalry games and playoff implications on the line in the final week of the regular season. We've got the Lone Star Showdown on Friday. 3-loss Texas hosting undefeated Texas A&M. On Saturday, the game. Ohio State clashing with Michigan. Wolverines have won 4 straight meetings. The team who wins the rushing battle has won the game 23 straight times. Pitt needs to beat Miami to have any chance to make the ACC title game, and 2-loss Oklahoma needs to beat LSU to stay in the playoff field. Set it up and break it down. Welcome in 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and Sportsline data scientist Mackenzie Brooks. Start with Friday's Lone Star Showdown. 3-loss Texas hosting undefeated Texas A&M. Call me a hater, but I'm not putting Texas in the field even with a win over the Aggies. Mackenzie, even the Sportsline odds agree.
Yeah, we have them at a 3% chance right now. And if they do beat the Aggies, that doubles to 6%, which is great for them. But you would need so many other things to happen. I'm talking Vandy loses, Bama loses, Michigan loses, BYU loses in the Big 12 championship. It's like hitting a 10-leg parlay essentially for them. What's interesting about this game, and we actually do have Texas beating Texas A&M. We give them the 55% chance and the nod because they are at home. If you're not first, you are last if you're Texas A&M, right? So losing that game actually takes them out of the SEC championship and puts in Georgia. So that's actually what we have as the most likely SEC championship, around a 36% chance of it being Georgia-Bama here. So that's just an interesting situation for the Aggies because of their strength of schedule and lack thereof. It really wouldn't allow them to stay in that game for Atlanta. Obviously, you still need Bama to take care of their business versus Auburn as well. And there's a small chance with all of this happening, if you see the double upsets, you could see Ole Miss backdooring their way into this Atlanta game. What I find interesting for the Aggies is I don't hate their odds of being a 5th seed if they lose this game. And I think the 5 seed's a pretty awesome place to be, especially in a conference as physical as the SEC, to not have to play that game to get a quote-unquote extra bye, and your actual game is playing UVA or maybe JMU. I think that's not a terrible spot to be. So if I'm the Aggies, obviously I'm trying to win. I would not be bummed if I end up being a 5th seed.
Texas A&M looking to make its first SEC championship game appearance in school history. BMAC, did the Aggies show up in the Lone Star Showdown and beat the Longhorns?
I really do. I believe they will. And the reason why I'm taking the A&M Aggies, of course, Texas A&M, to not just win but cover this 2.5 because of their quarterback, Marcel Reed. He's been phenomenal. He's a +1 in the running game through improvised running, a quarterback design running plays, and what he's done in throwing the football. He has really developed to be a really good passer, especially in the seams. And then when you look at what we saw from Arch Manning, granted, the best game we've ever seen from Arch Manning in a Longhorn uniform, put up 50+ points. He had 6 total touchdowns, but we saw some issues with their run defense. Arkansas ran the football well against A&M. If that's the case, one would think A&M will have similar, or if not better, success against the Longhorns' run defense. And we know their defense will get timely stops when you look at Cassius Howell and what he does in rushing opposing passers and their entire defensive front. So I love this line set at 2.5, Hakeem Kinsey. If it was 3.5, okay, now you got to really think about buying points, because I don't mind buying it down. I don't mind. That's almost providing some insurance for myself. But seeing 2 in the hook, I'm not buying anything down. I think this could be a close scoring ball game. Maybe a field goal get you out of the door, but I love 2 in the hook in favor of A&M.
All right, on Saturday, the greatest rivalry in all of college football, Ohio State versus Michigan, clashing for the 121st time. That team up north has won 4 straight meetings. Mackenzie, if Michigan, can't believe I'm saying this, if Michigan finds a way to win, the committee will have to put them into the playoff field.
I think they will make a very, very strong argument. I think they will. Now, we only have them moving up technically to a 44% chance to make the playoff with the win here. But if Oregon ends up losing to Washington, that completely secures you, and that could also even put you in to the Big Ten Conference Championship there. So if they're making that Big Ten game, obviously I think they're going to make it in the playoff. But again, it'd be nice to have some other things fall your way. It'd be nice to have a Vandy lose, a Bama lose, an Oklahoma lose, because you have some not awesome wins, like barely beating Purdue. doesn't look great. There's not these crazy dominant wins relative to these other 10-2 dancing teams. So I don't think it's completely 100% secured. I do think it is 100% secured if Oregon does lose. But again, I mean, going from an 11% chance to a 44% chance would be pretty awesome. And we do give them a pretty good chance to beat Ohio State. 35% seems like it is low, but relative to odds makers, it's not a crazy number to have.
No, it's not. The team who wins the rushing battle has won the game 23 straight times. Ohio State has not allowed a 100-yard rusher all year. Michigan has had at least one player with 100 yards in 10 of 11 games this season. So it's the classic something's got to give, BMAC. This game is in Ann Arbor, where it could snow, where Ohio State's a 9.5-point road favorite. Julian Sand has never played in the snow. He's from Carlsbad, California. Bryce Underwood is from Detroit, Michigan. He's played in snow. I don't care if the Buckeyes cover, just win. What's your prediction?
Well, you're talking about the rushing difference. A year ago, Michigan ran the ball for 172 yards to 77 with Ohio State. Michigan won. 2023, 156 to Ohio State's 107. 2022, 252 yards to Ohio State's 143. 2021, 297 yards on the ground to Ohio State's 64, right? And the one win, Ohio State, to your point, Hakeem, they outrushed Michigan 322 to 81. So which run offense is going to show up? That has been the calling card for this rivalry over the last, 4 or 5 plus meetings. That's why Ryan Day has struggled against Michigan, 1-4. In his last 4 meetings, he's 0-4 because they haven't been able to run the football. Justice Haynes will not participate. He was their main RB1, Michigan's RB1 throughout the season, done a phenomenal job when he was in the lineup. Jordan Marshall is returning. He's done a hell of a job in the backfield. Can Bo Jackson outrush? Can, collectively speaking, Ohio State outrush Michigan this year? I say yes. I think they do. But in terms of the spread, Hakeem, 9.5.
It's a lot.
You think it's going to be a close-scoring ball game. Wink Martindale will have something in plan to be able to slow down Ohio State. And yes, Jeremiah Smith is participating. I don't know how healthy he will be. Will he be 100%? The same can be said for Carnell Tate. I do believe Ohio State's defense will be the difference in winning this ball game. But in terms of the spread for our money makers that are watching us, I like Michigan getting 9.5. And if you want to buy it up to 10, 10.5, feel free to do so. Ohio State win outright. I think Michigan will cover.
All right, well, if you're a fan of another team like the Miami Hurricanes, you need Ohio State to beat Michigan. Miami also needs to beat Pitt, and Pitt needs to beat Miami because the Panthers have a real path to make the ACC title. Need to win against Miami, and either SMU or Virginia need to lose. The Cavs play rival Virginia Tech. Mustangs play at Cal. Mackenzie, Miami or Pitt, who has a better chance to make the college football playoff?
I think Miami does have the better chance here, obviously, because we have Miami winning this game, and it starts there. They're under a coin flip right now, around a 34% chance. That goes up to 40%, but still under a coin flip because, as you mentioned, at some point, some of these teams are hoping a 3 to 4 leg parlay hits. And while all of the legs individually seem possible, you're asking teams to lose to their rivals, it is difficult for all of that to happen. So right now in that ACC championship, as you mentioned, it's SMU and it's UVA in the driver's seat. If UVA does lose to Virginia Tech, that then opens the door essentially to the winner of this Miami-Pitt game, in which we have Miami winning. So that's why it's so much higher. For Pitt, again, you're asking for a ton of different things to happen. You need SMU to beat Cal, you need Pitt to beat Miami, and you need Virginia Tech to beat UVA. So you're looking for that like triple underdog parlay right now. So not impossible, not a good spot to be necessarily. But if I'm Miami and we're really talking seriously about trying to get to Charlotte, you need to either not even be in competition with SMU. SMU needs to be so clearly already in there that you're not competing with them for the second spot in Charlotte, or you need them to lose and lose badly and UVA to lose. So interesting situation for Miami, but it is not impossible. It's our second most likely ACC championship right now.
BMAC, you know who wrecked my parlay last week? I went 21 of 22. Mackenzie doesn't know about my crazy bonker parlays because we don't work enough together. I went 21 of 22. Guess who lost it for me? Georgia Tech, because they lost to Pitt. All right? So, yeah, I was about to hit on one in week 13, and I missed. So I need to try to earn some cash here. Miami's a 6.5-point road favorite at Pitt. Who you got?
Taking Miami. Taking Miami to cover this spread. I understand it's going to be 35 degrees there in Acrisure Stadium, and teams from South Florida usually don't do well in cold weather. But Miami, they only lose ball games when they lose them. They're always the more talented team, especially in the ACC competition, right? You look at Carson Beck, the experience, you look at that defensive front, you look at the offensive line, you look at the wide receivers, they have everything you would want to have. And like I said, they only lose ball games when they lose them. They don't just, teams don't beat Miami. Miami lose ball games. I think those two losses have woke them up. They will display the sense of urgency. They won't play around with their food because they know they have no room for error, and they're the more talented team. Mason Heincho has been a great story for Pitt, but this is a tall task in terms of the guys who will be putting pressure on him for Miami, the defensive line for Miami. So give me Miami to cover this spread. 6.5, yeah, book it.
Pitt has won 6 straight ACC games. Go
I've
ahead,
been holding
Mackenzie.
a Miami under 10.5 futures since July. Truly the only tree I've barked up through that summer preseason. So I'm personally rooting for a loss here, but
Okay.
the numbers are the numbers.
Well, Miami is 3-0 versus ranked teams this season, and Pitt is now ranked, coming in at 22. Bryant McFadden, Mackenzie Brooks here on CBS Sports HQ. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you both. Coming up, we'll break down our winners and losers, but before then, we've got Iowa and Nebraska renewing pleasantries for the Heroes Trophy. Hawkeyes have won 9 of the last 10 meetings against the Cornhuskers. You can watch the game noon Eastern on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+. Coming up, we'll break down our winners and losers from the 4th set of CFP rankings, who's sitting pretty and who's got some work to do. That's next on CBS Sports HQ. Show me the bracket. 4th set of college football playoff rankings have been released. Here's a look at the projected bracket. No changes 1 through 5. It's Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech. Where the changes have occurred, Oregon now 6, Ole Miss 7. You've got Tulane there at 12, the group of 5 representative. Miami, the projected ACC champ, but as we know, they have a really difficult path to get into that ACC championship. It'll likely be Virginia and SMU. Perhaps Miami will get into the field somehow as an at-large and not the ACC champion. So that's what the bracket looks like right now. The first team out being BYU. All right, back here with college football insider Richard Johnson, CBS Sports HQ college football analyst Brad Crawford, and former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt, here to break down the winners and losers from the 4th set of CFP rankings. Emory, I'll go your way first. Who's your biggest winner?
Biggest winner, I would say Miami and also Tulane. And starting with Miami because they may not even face anyone in the ACC title game. I didn't even get there yet, and still here they are moving up a spot in a ranking. So Miami must be living right because they don't give any justice to any other of the ACC teams that are going to potentially play in a title game. Miami needs like an assortment of things for that to happen. And for Tulane, the committee just fell in love with New Orleans. I get it. I'm from there. I understand why you fall in love with the city. And they just rubber stamped Tulane to be the G5 representative, despite them getting blown out by Ole Miss and getting sacrificed to the gods by UTSA. No one cares about those 2 losses, those 2 ugly losses that Tulane have on their schedule. So Miami and Tulane, both living right, both are winners tonight.
My winner, I'm going to go first winner, ACC. I think the ACC right now is set up to be the 11 seed because they ranked SMU, and SMU is just a few spots behind Virginia. So if both of those teams end up in the ACC championship game, it'd be a good ranked win for each. It would be a conference championship for each, and they get in at 11. And then your group of 5 champion would get in at 12. Your American champion, theoretically, in this example, and most likely either Tulane or North Texas if everything goes apace there.
Yeah, my first big winner is Michigan at 15. Obviously, moving the Wolverines up a couple spots after beating Northwestern. They jumped ahead of Texas. Now, I know Michigan still has some at-large room that they'll need to leap over, but if they beat Ohio State, top-ranked, unbeaten Buckeyes, that would be college football's single most impressive win this season, and it would come before the penultimate rankings. I think that would be good enough, even if Michigan does not make it to the Big Ten championship game now at number 15. That would be enough with a little bit of help to get into that playoff. So Sharon Moore, he can really tell his guys inside the locker room in Ann Arbor this weekend, we beat the Buckeyes, fellas. We're likely in this big dance.
My other winner is Oregon because I think Oregon is actually in a prime position to sneak into one of the bye seats, to sneak in to the top 4. I think the loser of the Big Ten championship game and the loser of the SEC championship game will fall out of the top 4 seeds, thus allowing either Texas Tech or frankly, Oregon to move in to the top 4. Obviously, it would help even if Texas Tech were to lose in the Big 12 championship game as well. I think Oregon is in a prime position to get a bye and to get into the top 4 seeds.
My other big winner for the second straight week is Miami. The Hurricanes keep moving up despite not beating ranked teams. Win at Virginia Tech, touchdown pass on 4th down to make this score a little bit sexier than it actually was. It obviously impressed the committee. The Hurricanes, we've known this for weeks. They need to be at number 10 in the final rankings to get in this thing because the likelihood of Miami getting to the ACC championship game, beating Pitt, and having a whole scenario thing go their way is unlikely. So they need to leap at least 2 more teams. I think Miami can do it. Now, it's going to take a loss by Oklahoma, maybe one from Alabama at Auburn. Even a Notre Dame loss would help because the committee's already shown us for the 4th straight week that head-to-head right now has not come into play because Notre Dame is in a different tier than Miami.
Yeah, and this game that Miami's playing against Pitt is no walkthrough. I mean, Pitt has won 6 straight ACC games, so that's also a tough task there. You got to take care of business at Pitt. All right, let's go back to Emory here. Emory, give us one loser here from your 4th CFP rankings.
Outside of the committee, I will go James Madison because at the end of the day, the Dukes have won all their games. The only loss was a 2-touchdown loss to Louisville. At the time, was highly ranked in the country, and they've blown the doors off everyone else on their schedule. They're more than likely are going to win the Sun Belt Conference and finish with 1 loss on the season, and they are not even ranked in the top 25 college football playoff rankings. So to me, that they are the biggest losers tonight because, like I said before, it seems like this committee has rubber stamped New Orleans, i.e. Tulane, for that G5 spot.
I'm actually going to take North Texas for a similar reason, but North Texas obviously has the chance to be the group of 5 spot because remember, it's highest ranked 5 conference champions. You have to win your league. So North Texas, I think, could get into the rankings if they win out beating a now ranked Tulane. And so North Texas, for now, I think is a loser because they're not ranked, but obviously they have the chance to get into the college football playoff by winning their league.
And I'm going to stay in the Lone Star State. Texas is one of my biggest 2 losers tonight because at number 16 right now, there is just not a clear path for the Longhorns to get there. You've got Vanderbilt, a team they beat head-to-head, probably going to finish with a better record, and Vanderbilt's at 14. They're going to be a 10-win team. Texas, all they can do right now is finish 9-3 and beat number 3 Texas A&M. Now that's going to be a quality elite win, one of the best in college football if Steve Sarkisian and Arch Manning can get it done this weekend. But there are just too many teams right now in the at-large bubble discussion ahead of Texas. And at 16, I just don't see a path for Sark and those guys to get in.
Emory, who's another loser following the rankings for you?
The Big 12 Conference, man. You look at the first 2 teams out, they're Big 12 teams, BYU and Utah, and you have 5 SEC teams in this bracket, right? So when you have these Big 12 teams like Texas Tech, Utah, BYU, all are playing really good football right now. Utah is playing exciting football. Texas Tech, well-deserving in the top 5 or whatnot. This is a football team in BYU and also Utah and Texas Tech that are playing phenomenal ball. And it shows you that the committee only expects 1 Big 12 team to get in, and that will be the winner of the conference championship. And we're going to lose out on 2 really good squads being in the college football playoff because we need 14 SEC teams in this 12-team bracket.
Emory, remember, they can get 2 teams in the Big 12 championship game if BYU beats Texas Tech. There's your scenario right there to get 2 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff. But my second loser is going to be Miami because Miami just still sits there with too much ground to cover in order to get in the field. There's just too much ground to cover. There's too many teams in front of them, and they need probably a little bit too much chaos to get to the 10th spot in the rankings to make their win over Miami really count. Right now, they are not being compared in a binary to Notre Dame. It's not happening. They're too far away from them. But if they were able to get closer, and that's going to take some carnage in front of them, perhaps that can happen.
This could be a really, really ugly week for Ole Miss, fellas. I mean, the committee did not have to show us its hand tonight and dock Ole Miss for not playing last week, push Oregon ahead of them after beating USC. If Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State, they're not going to make this playoff bracket. If they beat Mississippi State and Lane Kiffin takes the LSU job, then they likely could miss out on a first-round home game opportunity despite finishing 11-1 this season, which by all accounts in the SEC is one of the hardest things to do in college football. So I think Ole Miss sliding from 6 to 7 tonight is a precursor to what we might see next week, maybe a 7 to 9 slot drop despite beating Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. But if you ask any Ole Miss fan, as long as they beat Mississippi State, they're going to be in the playoff.
Yeah, that would be tough, though, because if Oklahoma's still at 8 and Ole Miss beat Oklahoma, and you're telling me, like, I don't get a playoff game because of that would be ruffling some feathers in Oxford.
A home game.
Yeah, I know. You're ruffling some feathers right there. I mean, because you want a home game. It's the atmosphere is electric. Richard Johnson, Brad Crawford, Emory Hunt here with us on CBS Sports HQ as you take a look at the bracket following the fourth set of college football playoff rankings. There will be 11 games in all, culminating with the national championship in Miami. Coming up, a full bracket breakdown. Emory Hunt is back to fill out his bracket, and you got to see who he's got winning it all. Next on CBS Sports HQ. Year 2 of the 12-team playoff. Here's a look at the projected bracket based on the fourth set of college football playoff rankings. Top 5 remain the same. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Georgia would receive a first-round bye. Seeds 5 through 12 will play each other in the first round with the higher-seeded teams playing host. 11 games to be played, culminating with the national championship in Miami. Every Tuesday, we'll be doing a full bracket breakdown with a guest picker. We have one more next Tuesday before Selection Sunday on December 7th. And our guest picker this week, none other than former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt here for Bracket Breakdown. He was right last year when he picked Ohio State to win it all. So let's see what he's got here, filling out the bracket just like college basketball. Let's start in Norman, Oklahoma, hosting Notre Dame, where the Sooners, Emory, are 0-5 all-time against Notre Dame in Norman. Who's advancing to play Ohio State?
Wow, make that 0-6. You got the who I think the Heisman Trophy winner is, Jeremiah Love, is going to run up and down that Sooner defense. So give me Notre Dame moving on to round number 2.
Okay. In the 12-5 projected matchup, Tulane would travel to Lubbock to play Texas Tech. Emory, does the Green Wave upset the Red Raiders?
They do not, because they don't have enough money in their bank account to compete with Texas Tech. So give me the Red Raiders moving on to the next round, because this defense, David Bailey, first-round pick, offensive line looks good. They can run the football. Give me Texas Tech.
All right, down the bracket, Miami against Oregon. We'll see if that happens. Who you got there in that projected matchup?
Man, I can't wait to get Miami off the books. Give me Oregon. Like, they shouldn't even be in this college football playoff. This should be either Virginia or one of these other teams, SMU, Pitt. Yeah, any one of these teams other than Miami. So give me Oregon moving ahead.
Well, Miami might move in there. We'll see. We'll see about it. All right, 10-7 matchup. I mean, this is juicy. All SEC did not meet in the regular season. Alabama on the road in Oxford against Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin may or may not be there. Let me first ask you that before you get your winner. Will Lane Kiffin be there in this projected matchup?
Yes, because Lane Kiffin loves Lane Kiffin. He loves the drama surrounding.
What if the school says no? What if the school says, if you leave, you're not coaching our playoff game?
Hey, listen, that would be the Emory Hunt move. Like, I would help him make a decision. I would get rid of him right now for playing with our emotions. But I get that he's loving this drama. He's loving all of the attention. He's bringing more eyes to Ole Miss. But unfortunately, that stops right there in that playoff game against Alabama. Move the Crimson Tide to round 2.
All right, so Alabama moves on. Okay, all right, let's move to the quarterfinals. Notre Dame against Ohio State in a rematch of last year's Natty. Does Notre Dame avenge that loss?
No, but they do make it exciting and closer than it was last year. I think C.J. Carr is a much better player than Riley Leonard, but Ohio State is playing with legit house money right now. So let's move the Buckeyes over to the semis.
Yeah, let's get Ohio State beating Michigan this week before we can wrap up a number 1 seed overall. Okay, next quarterfinal matchup, Texas Tech against Georgia. Who you got there?
Listen, this is a fantastic matchup. This is going to be the exciting game that's going to probably go into overtime. I'm predicting that as well. But I'm going with Texas Tech. This football team has razor-sharp focus. I think that one loss shook them up, and they've been steady ever since. So I like them to move on after beating Georgia in overtime.
Wow, that'd be an upset right there. Okay, keep moving through the bracket. Oregon against Texas A&M. Who's advancing in your bracket?
A&M just looks like a complete juggernaut on both sides of the ball, on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and their offense has tremendous playmakers. They are deep at running back. Casey Concepcion, fantastic wide receiver. Their quarterback, Marcel Reed, should be a Heisman Trophy finalist. This will be a fantastic game because Dante Moore is a good quarterback as well, and they have some good talent at Oregon. They're playing much better now, but I like A&M to move along.
Yeah, inject that matchup into my veins. Marcel Reed and Dante Moore, give me that. I love that idea. Okay, Alabama against Indiana, the last quarterfinal matchup. Crimson Tide or the Cream and Crimson, Emory?
I'm going to go with the Cream and Crimson. I feel like when we look at this, honestly, from a 10,000-foot level, Fernando Mendoza has played much more consistently than Ty Simpson as of late. I know Simpson has the highs. I love his grit, love his toughness. But, man, he tails off at games and times. And if he does that versus Indiana, that defense, which is much better this year than it was last year, this run game that was much better this year than it was last year, can take advantage and take over. So I like Indiana to move along.
All right, so Kurt Signetti beats one of his former employers in Alabama. You see what we've got for the Final Four. Here we are in the semifinals. Texas Tech against Ohio State. Who's playing for the Natty? Did the Buckeyes get back there?
They do. And this is a situation where Ohio State been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. And I feel like the moment will be a little bit too big here for Texas Tech, although they've had a fantastic year, spent a lot of that good state tax-free money. I love it for Texas Tech. They're going to be back, but they lose to Ohio State.
Okay. Other semifinal, Texas A&M against Indiana. Do we get an all Big Ten national championship?
We do not, because we have an SEC team moving over to the championship game with Texas A&M knocking out Indiana. The defense of the Aggies, to me, is outstanding.
Okay, here we go. 1 versus 3. Now for the national championship, Texas A&M against my Ohio State Buckeyes. Who's winning it all in Miami?
You know what's fascinating about this, Hakeem, and why I love Texas A&M to win this ball game is because they're out there playing defense like the old Wrecking Crew, not the one with Dr. Dre and DJ Yella that end up becoming NWA. But I'm talking about the Quentin Coryatt's. I'm talking about the Johnny Hollands. I'm talking about the Ray Childress. This defense is phenomenal. On top of the fact, the run game looks like the old school A&M run game where you had those guys, Leland McElroy, dot in the eye. Dante Hall was a tailback back then. So I like the balance that they're playing with, and I think they have enough dynamic ability at quarterback, more so than what we've seen from Julian Sand, who should also be in the Heisman Trophy running as well. But I like A&M to get their first national championship since we had 48 states, because Hawaii and Alaska wasn't a state when the last time they won was 1939, World War II.
1939. They've won.
Crazy.
They claimed 3 national championships, the last in 1939.
So they claimed 3. So we don't even know if they really won 3. So I will say this. A&M will finally win a legit national champion so we can stop hearing about the last time they won was pre-World War II.
Ohio State has allowed 7.5 points per game.
Well, they're going to allow 19 in this one against Texas A&M and lose 19-7.
All right, look, you were right last year. You had Ohio State winning it all, and I thank you for you giving them that. And after they lost to Michigan, they went ahead and made you look smart, which that was incredible that they went and won the Natty. But now they got to win on Saturday against Michigan. Can I get your pick for that game? Who you got for that game?
I've been watching it because I'm always locked into CBS Sports HQ, especially on the CBS Sports YouTube channel. Watch all of our amazing content. So I watched the analysis throughout the whole entire show, and I think Ohio State can cover the spread and win outright as well. So I think this is something that they've been waiting for. The passing game will have to be prevalent. I know Underwood had a great game throwing the ball last week, but man, I think Ohio State has this one circled as they always tend to do, and they'll get the job done covering that big spread.
Yeah, Ohio State can't lose 5 in a row to Michigan.
No, they cannot.
It just can't happen. It can't happen.
If they do, Hakeem,
it's gonna be a tough day for me.
You got to get the yellow wings.
No,
spray painted in your head.
No, I would never do that. No, I would never do that.
You have to.
No, I would never do that.
We can get some Michigan.
I've been playing Ohio State fight songs since Sunday, so I'm ready for Michigan week. I'm ready, but I think Ohio State's going to run it back. So I'm going to disagree with you, but you got Texas A&M, so good Good luck to the Aggies in the college football playoff. Emory Hunt here with us on CBS Sports HQ. Emory, thank you, my friend. Here's a look at the odds to win the national championship. Vegas likes Ohio State. Of course they do. Vegas also likes Indiana, plus 500. Texas A&M right there. Emory's pick at plus 750. Last school to win back-to-back natties, Georgia, in 21 and 2022.